What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today, we're going to talk about Hitman. This is a new film on Netflix. They actually picked this up out of a film festival, so they didn't make this, which is why it's inherently better than everything else that they usually make. In case you were wondering, that's the answer, is to buy the film instead of to make the film. Anyway, this stars Glen Powell, Audrey Arjona, Austin Emilio, Retta, and some other downstream cast members. And it is directed by Richard Linklater and written by, interestingly enough, Linklater and Glen Powell. Glen Powell's writing on this. He's got writing creds. The audio description is done by International Digital Center. The writer of that is Liz Gutman. So, like, Liz and Glen Powell are now, like, the same person, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And the narration is done by Jamie Lemchek. So, what a nice surprise from Netflix to just have this drop. I don't know why it's dropping during the middle of the summer. This did have some Oscar buzz when it was seen at festivals. People were like, I could see it getting like a screenplay nomination. You know, summer just feels like a weird time. But then again, A24 is about to drop Sing Sing. So there's that. You know, that's a summer release for them. Feels weird. Barbie and Oppenheimer, to be honest, were both summer releases. So what is Oscar season anymore? What is it? You know, it's whatever. You know, Dune's gonna get nominations, and that was months ago. So, yeah, Hitman is based on, I guess, a real Gary Johnson who used to do something similar. Basically, he's a professor at a university who also moonlights with the New Orleans Police Department as a civilian consultant that they use to like plant bugs and stuff like that. And I didn't know that this was a thing. I just assumed that like everybody worked in law enforcement who did this, you know, that they were all somehow like, does he get paid? I hope he gets paid. They weren't really clear on that. Does he just volunteering his time for shits and giggles? Like, what's going on here? But yeah, so he's just like a regular guy that the cops use to like go in and pretend to be somebody else or plant a bug. And he sort of gets elevated after the guy that they do use to always go in for like sting operation type things is caught online in a video doing some unsavory things, and he's suspended for 120 days, and during that time gives Glen Powell plenty of time to show his stuff, and he gets really like into it, like method acting. Every time he has to go in and pretend he's a hitman, he sort of comes up with like this new version of his character, you know, and it just keeps like shaping, and he thinks about like his target and like what his target would want. And he goes from sort of this like mild-mannered kind of geeky guy to this very assertive, dangerous fellow. And it's a great role for Glen Powell, who is on the rise and is trying to just sort of get himself situated in the A-list. I think this is a great film to showcase that. Even though it's going to go straight to streaming, it won't have an opportunity to affect his box office prowess. I don't know that this is a box office hit. I think this would have been like a box office sleeper. You know, one of those films you open in like limited and then platform it, and then it walks away with like $20 million, and everybody's like, wow, that was pretty impressive, 20 million. Good job, guys. You know, it's kind of what I feel like this would have been. So not like a massive loss, maybe 25, 30 million, you know, like that kind of like, but that feeling of that was a successful platform release, you know, not necessarily, it didn't break records, didn't my big fat Greek wedding itself and just get out of control, but it's fine. Did exactly what it should do. So he one time ends up meeting someone who, in their conversation, ends up kind of deciding like, no, this isn't really what I want. And they're coming at it from like a different angle of, my husband's just a bad guy. I just really need to get away from him type of thing. Like sort of like suggesting that like abusive ex type of thing. And that character is Madison, played by Audrey Arjona, who I am being introduced to in this film, I think. I don't know. Maybe she's been in something else and I just haven't noticed her. But as far as like a major role, this is the biggest thing that I've ever had to say her name into a review. So kudos. She does nice work as Madison. And, they sort of, he falls for her and it complicates things because she thinks he's a hitman. So she's falling in love with a hitman. It's like, what kind of girl would fall in love with a hitman? But he also starts sort of blending who he is as a real person with this character of a hitman. And she's like, you can't be a hitman. You do this, this, and this. And he's like, no, you never know. It's just trying to keep, spin both plays. Yeah, so that's kind of Hitman. There's some stuff I obviously I don't want to spoil the ending, but that's where it goes. And it's fun. It's fun. I liked it. It's well written. Glen Powell's great. Richard Linklater's directing is excellent here. The pacing is solid. There's just like a spark that's missing that makes me go, oh my God, I want to see this again. Or, oh my God, this is going to be one of my favorite films of all time. There's that spark that says it's just missing from me, like fully embracing this as being like one of the best things I've seen this year. And me going, that was a great film. I really enjoyed that. I'm glad this is out there. I had a nice experience with this film, and I don't know what it is. It's a very intangible thing to say what keeps that from happening. Like what makes a film instantly rewatchable where you want to see it again? Because I don't want to see this again right away. I probably would years down the road if somebody was like, do you want to watch Hitman? I'd be like, it's been a couple of years. Yeah. All right. But I'm not like excited about seeing it again. But I liked it. And I can't really put my finger on what about it. Now, I'm not like a massive Richard Linklater fan, and that may be it. Is it just, even though I think this is one of the best things he's directed, possibly since Dazed and Confused. I don't want to say that for sure, because I like Scanner Darkly. But like, there's a lot of stuff that he does that I don't really click with. I didn't like the Before trilogy. It's not really my thing to just watch people kind of just have long conversations while walking through wherever. I like Scanner Darkly, but I don't like Waking Life. So yeah, he's not always the right director for what it is that I'm looking for. He had Apollo 10.5, Space Age Childhood, or whatever that film was, for Netflix a couple years ago. It was interesting. I liked it, but again, I didn't love it. I didn't. It was like, okay, well, I see what you're doing here. This is certainly interesting. Maybe it's just a Linklater thing. Maybe I'm just not a Linklater person. But Dazed and Confused is great. But that's like at the beginning of his career, and he's been directing for so long that you would think he would come back around and direct something that would defeat Dazed and Confused. But I would still say that's maybe his best film, but I know some other people would definitely start throwing the Before films at me. The question is, which one? Is it sunrise? Is it sunset? Is it midnight? Which one? Which one? Pick one, only one. So, yeah, it's maybe it's just that, maybe it's that, but this weird intangible thing that I have with Linklater. But I like this. I like Glen Powell. I think this film lets him do more. I really enjoy him. I enjoy him more here than I did in Anyone But You. I think in Anyone But You, he was more concerned with being hot than he was funny. And here he gets opportunities to be a little goofy. Not fully goofy. I still miss the Glen Powell that I fell in love with on Scream Queens back in the day. That Glen Powell that is fully capable of doing the most hilarious stuff. Just top-notch character work, delivering the best lines. He was the best part of that series. Him and he and Niecy Nash just absolutely killed it. But yeah, it's I've been a big fan of his ever since then, just hoping the best for him. And I love the fact that he's in this. And I love the fact this is a great role for him. So I'm on board. I'm not like all the way on board. This is currently in my top 10 for the year, simply based on like how the year's been going. So, but other than that, I don't really have much else to say. The audio description was really good. I enjoyed. Liz always writes good scripts, and Jamie comes in and does a really good job narrating. She keeps it light. This film is pretty light. It's not very dark, even though you would think with the title and the theme that there would be like a darkness to it. There's not really a darkness to the film. There's maybe like 10 seconds of darkness in the film, and then like the rest of it is just lightness, kind of light and fluffy, and it feels just right. So I love some of the attention to detail. What's really interesting is some of the stuff I was thinking about and how it lands. Like there's a scene where he goes home and we get to see like his daily routine at home towards the beginning of the film and the things that he does, and it mentions that he lays out wet dry food for his cats, and then he names the cats. Like, so we get to learn the name. I don't remember the names of the cats are not that important to the film, but later on when he's talking to his ex-wife, he mentions the names of the cats, and it's written in a way where I think I would have picked up on it. But it's interesting because I feel like I actually had knowledge that those were the cats, and I was like, would I have had that knowledge otherwise or not? I don't really mind too much, because when you get me talking about audio description, the reality is I know that when people are like, oh, you over described something, it's like, okay, so they over describe. Do you understand there are like 10,000 things at any given time that you're not getting an audio description? Like, all the stuff the camera's doing, the lighting, the position of the camera, the framing. I mean, I could go into so many things that never make it into audio description. So, yeah. The fact that we learned the names of the cats, I don't think is like earth-shattering, but I thought it was interesting because in that moment I was like, would I have known the names of the cats? Did he ever say them? I don't think he did. So, I mean, I think like as a logical human, I probably would have figured out those are the cats because we saw cats. And because she mentions, like, you don't really have anybody. He's like, I have, I don't know, Flotsam and Jetsam, whatever the fuck their names were. And yeah, I don't think I would have gotten that otherwise. But I don't really care. I don't, but I feel like somewhere out there's going to be somebody in the blind community who's going to be like, oh, that's too much information. It's like, do you know what the color grading is on the film? Is there color grading on the film? Do you know in that scene where he's talking to his wife, how it was framed? Was it framed over the shoulder? Was it framed with both of them sitting on? Was it framed in a close-up shot, or was it framed from far away? Was it framed where they were out of center? Was it framed in focus? Do you know any of that? No. Shut up. Move on. Like, there's so many things that we don't know in audio description, and people get so nitpicky about little things like we wouldn't. Somebody told me the name of the cats. You know, it's just, and then I end up thinking about things like names of cats, and then it's like a fucking 2-minute part of this review, and it's just like, it's exhausting. So just take what you get. We need to be worried about whether or not we're getting even like the bare minimum, like even like a functional amount of audio description. Like, were we able to follow the film? Did it make sense? Does the audio description make sense? Is it giving us what it needs to? Is it oversimplifying the film instead of, if it has extra time to give us extra knowledge, fine, great, you know? Tell me he's wearing Air Jordans. It may not be relevant to the plot, but great. If he's wearing it, I'm fine. Gives me another little thing to know about the film. Maybe I would have caught that as a sided person. I would have, you know, maybe I'm a sneaker head and I see him walk in. I'm like, damn, he's got some Air Jordans on. You know, I mean, tell me stuff like that. I don't care. But I realize that there are so many things that I'm missing that, you know, we rarely ever have time to discuss like establishing shots. And a lot of those times, people work really hard on those establishing shots, and I don't think people really realize, because they're not really, establishing shots are not really seen as being like really important to an overall movie. Like, you know, like, well, that's just showing me where we are. Yeah, a lot of times those shots are really hard to make. A lot of times those shots are really hard to pull off. There's a video online by another YouTuber like me who talks about, you know, like the most expensive shot that he was able to take was that like in cinema history or whatever, was this establishing shot that cost like $80,000 to take of a plane in Brian De Palma's Bonfire of the Vanities. It's like the $80,000 establishing shot of just a plane coming in. And it was just a really complicated shot to get it, to make sure you get the shot that you want. And I feel like that if I listen to audio description for Bonfire of the Vanities, it'd be like, a plane lands. And it's like, you don't really appreciate the fact that like a lot of money and time and people's like security and stuff like went into trying to land that shot. And we end up oversimplifying that, but then somebody's going to be like, I didn't need to know the name of the cats. Ruined the film for me. There's just so many other things that if you really want to know, they're just not going to be able to fit everything into audio description. So take what you can get. I liked Hitman. I thought it was good. It's probably going to fall out of my top 10. If it doesn't, then this year sucks. I mean, I'd be fine seeing this in my top 25, but right now, the way that I feel about the film is not a top 10 vibe. It's weird because I said that last year about Air, and then I saw Air a second time. I was like, I feel pretty good about Air, but Air still didn't stay in my top 10. So, yeah, it does. I feel like there are going to be more films this year. I hope there are more films this year. Anyway, I'm going to give Hitman an A-. I can't really tell you why it's a minus. I just have this feeling. It's just a weird feeling that I have where that just tells me that there's something about it that I don't want to just see it again immediately. I don't want to see it maybe like at the end of the year when I do some of my second looks for some of the Oscar films. I wouldn't want to do that for this film. I don't really want to see it next year. You know, it's not like a film I'm going to watch like every year. I don't know when I'm going to see this film again, but I did enjoy it. I don't think it's Linklater's best. I do think it's a film that helps Glen Powell's career because it shows him he really does dominate and he has like 80% of the screen time. So, yeah. I'm pretty positive on this, and I think everybody will like it. I think it's a likable film. I think it's a very accessible film for everybody. So check it out. It's on Netflix. It's probably going to be the best thing they'll produce this year. Maybe, I don't know. They've got the piano lesson and a couple other things, and I think they just picked up something else out of the film festival. So who knows? But that's it. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.